Hello everyone, this is Cody Nickel with Work, Grow, Thrive, and as always, the goal of my content is to give you top personal development insights into how you can grow and thrive and reach your potential in the workplace. So today, I want to talk with you about triggers, emotional triggers, more specifically, 4 ways that you can deal with your emotional triggers so that you can have a more positive emotional experience and ultimately stay highly productive at work. What is a trigger? Well, it can be anything. It could be a situation, a person, a smell, an event, a time of year, something that elicits a strong emotional response. And then we get flooded with emotions like anger or anxiety or fear. And this response is often automatic and it's exaggerated. And the thing about a trigger is that it's oftentimes a non-threatening, stimulus, but it elicits an autonomic response. And so we enter a kind of fight or flight mode. Our breathing might increase, our blood pressure increases, our heart rate increases, and we often get stuck in our emotion, and it's hard to respond or react in a way that we would like to. Have you ever felt threatened at work or belittled or underappreciated, and you just react in a strong way? Or your colleague says something, or he's showboating again in front of the boss, and it's, for whatever reason, it just makes you mad. Well, these triggers, we're not 100% sure why triggers exist or how they come into being, but they oftentimes are related to traumatic experiences we may have had in the past. And the thing about traumatic experiences is that they often kind of live outside of our conscious memory. And so when something happens that brings this memory back, more present, then we respond in this kind of automatic, negative, and exaggerated way. So the first tip is to identify what your triggers are and identify how they make you feel. You have to label them. Consider in a quiet moment, why did you respond in that exaggerated way? Consider the exact situation, those cues that really cause you to get triggered. Put a name to it, label it. And then also consider how you end up feeling when you're triggered. Is it a flush of insecurity? Do you feel angry? Do all of a sudden you feel fearful and you just want to leave and get out of the situation? It's very helpful in this first step to identify the trigger and describe how you're feeling, because in the future, when you're triggered again, then it'll be easier for you to decide or to realize what's happening to you. Then once you know what your trigger is, consider some responses that you could have ahead of time. So for example, let's say a colleague says something critical towards you, and that's something that triggers you because you feel like they're criticizing your person, you're taking it personally. Then ahead of time, consider a response. You could say, that's interesting what you're saying. I'd like to think about that and get back to you later or respond later. And so the next time when you realize, I'm being triggered now, I feel like I'm getting personally attacked, then you have an automatic response. You can say, that's interesting. I'd like to consider that some more, and I'll respond to you later. I'll get back to you. And then, once you've come down, you could consider the situation a little bit better. Then you're able to respond more appropriately, or respond in a way that you would like to, not just react, but you respond. And then the second thing that you can do is to examine the evidence. This isn't something that will help you directly in the situation, but like I said before, in a quiet moment, because you want to consider your triggers, you want to deal with them, you want to respond better to them in the future. Examine the evidence. So for me, one example is, I live and work in Germany, and I had to learn the German language, and I communicate in German every day. And this was worse in the past. Sometimes when I would speak in German, I wouldn't feel like I was being understood, and this, triggered me a little bit. And underneath that emotional reaction was the belief, oh, they don't think I'm competent. They don't think I can do a good job. And that's often the case with, a trigger. There's actually an underlying deeply held belief that's kind of, attached to it, that's underlying the emotion. And, I considered the evidence. When I said something, they just looked at me funny, but they didn't say they think I'm not competent. There's no indication actually that they think I can't do a good job. The only thing that the situation is showing is that they just need a little bit more clarity. And so actually the evidence is not showing that I'm incompetent. No, it's just showing that they need a little bit more clarity. So examine the evidence. The third thing that you can do, it's called cognitive reappraisal. And when it's appropriate, you can really reevaluate the situation and change how you think about it. So in my case, I feel like, them looking at me funny, not being understanding, it's kind of an attack on my competence. But it doesn't have to be that way. I can change how I think about it. No, this is actually, a learning experience. I can learn how to communicate with others accurately in another language. This is really actually wonderful. And when it all doesn't go according to plan, it's okay because I'm learning. Also, you can, another way to change how you're thinking about a situation is to not think in absolute terms, black and white, but to think in shades of gray. So maybe in my situation, I had this one interaction with a client, and now I think forever they're always going to think I'm dumb and I'm not good at what I do and I don't know what I'm talking about. Well, no, this is a working relationship. We're going to have many more interactions, many times to get to know each other and to talk with each other. And so this was just one situation of many. This isn't the final thing, right? We're going to get to know each other again in the future. And the fourth thing I want to leave you with and how to deal with these emotional triggers is to deal with yourself a little bit more compassionately. Oftentimes when you're triggered, we might be flooded with, an automatic thought, oh, I'm not able to, I'm not smart enough, I'm not competent enough, I can't do it. Or in my case, oh, I'm a bad communicator. But don't come down so hard on yourself. Don't punish yourself emotionally. Speak to yourself like you would speak with a good friend. Comfort yourself like you would comfort a good friend. You can tell yourself you can have a different narrative. You can tell yourself a different story. No, maybe in this case, the communication didn't work so well, but it's okay. I'm learning. Or it's okay to make mistakes. I'm a human being. We all make mistakes, but I'm learning from them. This is wonderful. And, we might have the thought, you get disappointed with yourself because you're not 100% perfect all the time. And, you can tell yourself, I don't have to be perfect. I make mistakes, and that's okay. My value is not in what I can do or what I can accomplish, but it's because I'm a human being. So it's okay that it didn't work out this time. There's always next time. So anyway, I hope that this video was helpful. Today we talked about how to deal with our triggers, our emotional triggers, so that we don't get stuck in our negative emotions, but we have a more positive emotional experience and we can remain more productive at work. And so the first thing I said is that you identify what is your trigger, label it, and also describe how it makes you feel. Because when you begin to get triggered, then you can take a step back and it's easier to identify what's happening. So this will help you to deal better with your trigger. The second thing is to examine the evidence. Consider the facts of the situation. And probably more than likely, your automatic thoughts are not going to be confirmed by the evidence. The third thing you can do is to engage in cognitive reappraisal. That means, just change how you think about the situation. And then the fourth thing is to be more compassionate with yourself. And by, doing these exercises, eventually you'll be able to, better deal with your triggers, or, when you are triggered, have a better response. The experience of your negative emotion may not be as, heavy as before. I hope this was helpful to you. Please like this video. Please subscribe to my channel and come back again for some more helpful content. You know, in this video, in the comment section, I'll include some helpful links so that you can deep dive more into this topic, or, you know, reach out to me, for example, if you want some one-on-one coaching. Anyway, I'd love to hear from you. Just wish you a wonderful day. Take care.